Hi, Dr. Nadine. How are you?
Hi, Tarek. How are you doing?
I'm very well indeed. How are these times treating you? How are you feeling these days?
Well, it sort of fluctuates throughout the days. There are days where it just feels like it's one long weekend, sort of, because we're not getting out and we're just staying home, and practically the days are just the same.
What do you think at this point in time, before we get into is, in your mind, the single biggest challenge that we're looking out there? If there's one big thing we need to start with, what do we put in our heads?
Obviously, being in full lockdown mode, not being able to move, raises a lot of questions on really our quality of life, our well-being, our safety is I think it's the primary concern of everybody. This is not just a personal and national concern, this is an international thing. Everybody in the world, no matter where you are, you can be worried about that. Obviously, the world economy is being shaken up by this. Businesses are struggling. I'm sure not just people, but also businesses are going under. So
we are living in an exponential crisis. An exponential crisis needs really exponential solutions. It needs exponential thinking. It needs exponential ideas. It needs an exponentially overflowing heart to find the quality of products and solutions that we as a company and we as a group are providing. So what we started doing was actually use this time and said, how can we support people? How can we contribute to people? So we started this webinar series, all of it focused on this COVID-19 crisis and how we come out of it. And over to Nadine. Nadine, would you like to sort of start with your presentation and then take us through and tell us about AI for dummies like me? Over to you.
So to start with, we see a lot of trend when it comes to emerging technologies, and AI is one of them, which is that we start with a hype. Everybody thinks that, wow, it's nice, we all have great expectations, it's normally overestimated, and a lot of times we get a lot of disappointment because we still don't know what this technology is and what it does. We have not really been able to bridge this gap between the learn phase and the embrace phase, where things start becoming more and more normalized across organization, where things become infused all across the board. So within that idea in mind, what we see is that a lot of us, when we're approaching these technology and AI, we have a bit of a superficial understanding of the technology. We really don't want to go in there, especially that we are busy with our lives. We have companies to run. We have a board chasing us for returns, etc., etc. So we really stay at that level. Now it's really a great time for us to start breaking the barriers. We are at an inflection point, especially because a lot of us are now at home, quarantined, and not being able to run a lot of part of our businesses. So it's really a good time for us to start venturing into the unknown, if it is, and to start looking at a much deeper understanding of AI. I don't want to say fortunately, but maybe that is the case, but this COVID-19 crisis, what it has done for this journey is that it has breaking it down. It's an exponential speeding curve now. It's no longer a small incremental curve where things are going really, really slow, one step at a time. Things are now being changed and transformed at a much, much, much faster speed. And the COVID-19 crisis has really shown us the value of these technologies. If we look at the companies that have flourished throughout this crisis, they are all companies which leverage the cloud, which leverage technologies, digitalization, transformation. These are the companies who are today in this crisis flourishing, continuing to run their core business, being able to deliver and growing in value. And this is our opportunity now. No matter which industry you are, no matter what organization you are in, now it is the time for us to benefit from this crisis, even though it is a crisis, and to start pivoting ourselves toward adoption. The good news is that when it comes to AI, a lot of the algorithms that we have, a lot of the platforms that we have, a lot of the technologies that we have to serve our businesses are open source. They are out there. People all over the world, developers all over the world have taken up among themselves to publish things, to put things for everybody to use and to build on top. And this is one of the main reasons why AI has grown so much in potential and in value. So really, this is what we need to be taking a look at.
Nadine, there are a couple of very interesting questions that came
Yes.
up from our audience, and let me just go to them. The first one is from Ashish Punjabi, who's the CEO of Jackie's Electronics, and he's a very, very keen techie and is a dear friend. And his question was, do you see a form of insurance against artificial intelligence mistakes that help to account for black swan events and situations like COVID-19?
The honest answer is that, unfortunately, there isn't. The reason for that is that we do not have a governing body worldwide that is there to regulate these things, to ensure that we do not go into the unknown. The other part of it is that AI, and that also goes into Dr. Waddah's question. Please allow me to address that as well. Yes, there are limitations in the assumption. There are limitations in what the algorithms use in terms of raw data, in terms of numbers that are being fed to it. Again, AI and computers are only good at crunching numbers. So they're not good at creating insights. They're not good at creating analysis we can get. So sure, AI has a lot of limitations. One of it is that it only crunches numbers, and it's very, very hard to explain what is happening inside of it. A lot of people, even experts, look at AI as a black box. Imagine that we got to a point where we have an AI which is able to self-learn, an AI which is able to transfer learnings, and an AI which is able to improve itself. Now, do we really know what sort of implications that might have on our businesses, on our lives, on humanity in general? We don't. And which is why we need to have a set of rules which we all have to abide by to make sure that we use AI to actually advance humanity, advance our businesses, not to bring them back.
My key question was about trust and ethics. To me, I start my presentations with trust and ethics, and I end them with trust. So, do we trust our financial institutions to be able to take be responsible for this? Do we trust our healthcare industries to be able to utilize the massive power of data and AI to do responsible things as we go into the future? We need a new set of institutions, perhaps, for today as we move forward. So what do you think they are, and should we have an AI institute of whatever? I don't know, the United Nations of AI.
Yes, we do need an AI governing body, which should be people who are experts from a technical standpoint, from a legal standpoint, from humanitarians perhaps. We need a group of people who can look at AI from all the relevant standpoints and who can come together to create a framework for us to say, this is what is acceptable, this is what will advance humanity, this is what will protect us from potentially exposing personal data, from building something that we have no control over, even though that might be a little bit far-fetched. But we need to ensure that we do not get to a point where it is too late. Just like what we did with the COVID-19 crisis. We were too late in taking actions. The world was too slow, and we were reacting rather than taking proactive actions. So one of these lessons that we need to learn is how can we take proactive actions now to ensure that AI doesn't get to a point where it disrupts our lives as humans.
I think we'll end there. Thank you very much. And thank you for all of the people who stayed with us all the way through. And thank you again, Nadine. I know you worked very hard to pull this thing together. We greatly appreciate it, and hopefully it's affected people and given them some things to think about, how to see around corners and how to build a future. I still see a very happy and abundant future. We just need to find a way
Stay
to
safe,
get through it.
everybody.
Thank you. God bless. Stay safe. All the best. Cheers. Bye.